Hello my dear immigrants, expats and everyone who is interested in renting apartments in Edinburgh. Today I am going to tell you about my experience with apartment hunting in this amazing city. I arrived here in September 2022 and I knew it's gonna be hard, but I didn't expect it to be so hard. I was desperately looking for a flat to rent, but at the first days I couldn't even get a single viewing. Why? Because the housing situation in Edinburgh is dramatic. More and more students coming every year here to study, and students' accommodation just can't fit all of them, and they start to compete with professionals and other people who are looking for rent. And also there are many people who are coming here to work and live from abroad or from other cities. And don't forget that Edinburgh is a very popular holiday destination as well, so all over the year there are plenty of tourists floating around, and some landlords prefer to give their apartments in Airbnb rent rather than long term because it's more profitable, it requires less commitment, so it's kind of understandable. And also my personal opinion is that Edinburgh is a best city in the world because it is so beautiful, so safe, so artsy, and people here are very nice. And all these factors make competition on the rent market just crazy. The rules of renting game are different here as well. They are dictated by this high demand and they're not tenant friendly at all. For example, how do you rent flat in Bulgaria? You just go to the website, find few nice apartments, go view them in convenient for yourself time, and then you just select best one and tell to the landlord that you want to rent it, and it's done. No one cares about your employment, no one cares about your family, no one cares about your social status, no one cares. The only problem can be pets, but usually it is solved by double deposit. But here in UK, and especially in Edinburgh, it's completely different. You don't choose the apartment chooses you. No, I'm not kidding. After long weeks or even months searching for the apartment, you will just be ready to move in any available one, whatever you manage to get. So how do you rent apartment here in Edinburgh? First, just going to the website and arrange a viewing is not gonna work. You will figure out very fast that 99% of the advertisements on websites are outdated, there is no viewing slots available, and even if there will be a viewing slot, it will be like few weeks upfront, and you will have to fill a 1 mile long form about yourself. Who are you, how much money you get, who is your employer, how many dependents you have, how long you're gonna stay in the apartment, why do you want to rent exactly this apartment. You know, it reminds me a job interview when you have to write a CV and you have to explain why you want to work in this company, but this is dumb apartment. I just want to rent it and live there. This is super annoying, and while you will fill this form, your booking slot will probably be taken by someone who is typing faster, so get ready for frustration. What I've done to overcome this problem, I just subscribed on updates on all the possible websites for real estate, for rent, and as soon as new advertisements popped up, I just immediately went there and applied for almost each of them. And I also applied not on the aggregator's website where I was searching and filtering advertisements, but I applied on the agency websites. It's usually faster to get a response this way. And you may ask, why don't you just search for apartments on agency website if you anyway go there to apply? So, because these websites are all, I don't know, as a web developer, I have no words. I don't know why people who make a lot of money on rent when this is like such a bloated market, they can't invest in the good websites. I don't know. So usually in these websites you can't even filter to the newest advertisements, so you have a bunch of stuff and you don't know when this apartment appeared on the market yesterday or months ago, is it even still available? And you can't really filter it in advanced way, and it's overall not user-friendly. So that's why I was looking first on aggregators, and then I went to apply to agency website. By the way, when you're setting your budget, you have to keep in mind that besides the rent itself, you will have some other regular payments, such as council tax, gas and electricity bills, television and internet, and maybe something else what I can't remember now. If you don't know what is council tax, it is a tax that your local council takes from you for the, water, sewerage, and usually it is about it's from 100 to 200 per apartment, depends on the band of your apartment. The band is like how far away is your apartment from center. If it is central, it's like the biggest council tax. If it's somewhere like on outskirts of Edinburgh, should be lower one. And it doesn't matter how many people live in the apartment, the council tax is fixed. And if you are single, if you live in the apartment alone, you are eligible for the little discount on your council tax. It's like 10 or 15%. It's not much, but it's still good to apply for it. And if you are a student, you don't have to pay council tax. That is also nice. With all these payments, keep in mind that if you have this budget for, let's say, £1,200, with all these taxes and payments, it can easily get to like 15 or 1600. After you found an apartment, viewed it and liked it, you just go and apply for it. And by apply, I mean it's not you just express your desire to rent it. You also have to provide long list of supporting documents to prove yourself as a reliable tenant, that you're not gonna destroy the apartment, you're not gonna run away, you're gonna pay rent. There is also a rent freeze now in Scotland. And what does it mean? It means that even if you don't pay up to 6 months for your apartment, you don't pay your rent, the landlord cannot kick you out, and they also can't raise your rent during the rent freeze. So landlords are really careful selecting the tenants, and you need to show yourself from the best side. So you need to provide your renting history in UK, like testimonials of your previous landlords. You need to have good credit history. You also should show proof of your income, like your contract or pay slips. And if you just arrived to UK, and when I arrived to UK, I didn't even have a proper bank account. I used my Revolut. And I didn't have any credit history, I didn't have any renting history. So if you are a newcomer and you can't provide all these documents, there are other options to prove yourself. You can find a guarantor. So guarantor is a person who kinda promises to your landlord that you're gonna be a good boy or girl and you will pay the rent, and if you don't pay, they will cover it for you. But it's really hard to find someone who would agree to be your guarantor, because it is kind of financial responsibility, and it also affects credit rate, credit score of the person who is a guarantor. So maybe if you have relatives or friends, like really good friends, you can ask them, and you'll be really lucky if someone agrees. But don't forget that the guarantor should be also UK based and live here at least 3 years. It has to have decent salary, to have a good credit score overall as well. You can't just use any random person as a guarantor. It should be a suitable one. If you don't have such person, then another option is to offer to your landlord to pay rent upfront for a few months, like for 3 or 6 months, depends on your possibility to pay. Of course, it can really drain your budget, because the rent itself is quite high in Edinburgh. You will have a lot of expenses related with your moving, but that's the option, and it usually works. In my case, I suggested to pay for 6 months in advance, but at the end we agreed that I will pay my rent every 3 months upfront. To me, it's like it doesn't make a difference. I will pay this money anyway, just monthly or once in 3 months, doesn't matter. And after you made an application and provided all your documents, don't stop searching, because you might not get the positive answer. And also usually it takes some time to get answer at all. So just continue searching, continue viewing other apartments and making other applications. If you get few positive responses, then good for you, you can even choose. What you should be ready for is that you're not gonna get the apartment of your dreams. You will have to make compromises. You have to decide what is the most important for you: location, size, price, or something else. So for me it was of course location, because I have a kid and my kid will have to go to school, and I want him to go to a good school, and I want to stay in a safe neighborhood without crime and some junkies on the street. I was aiming to quite expensive neighborhoods. I didn't care about the condition of apartment, I didn't care about the size of apartment. I was ready to pay a bit higher price. The only thing that was a deal breaker for me is a mold, because it is just not healthy and it's very hard to get rid of. And if you just arrived to Edinburgh and you don't have an idea which neighborhood is good and which is bad, there is a deprivation map of Edinburgh. I will leave the link below the video in the description, so you can go and check it out. On this map they show neighborhoods in different colors, from blue to red, and the blue one more safe, healthy and wealthy. Red ones are like more deprived, with more crime and overall like lower quality of life there. Honestly, I mean, it is Edinburgh. If you compare the most deprived areas of Edinburgh to the city where I grew up, so of course these areas will not seem deprived at all. But I suggest you to pick some blue areas rather than red. Of course, red ones are cheaper. Everyone has his own priority. You can also pick unfurnished apartments without worrying at all, because furniture, it's not a problem at all in Edinburgh. You can get a cheap one, second-hand furniture from like Facebook Marketplace, Gumtree or charity shop, and you can even get furniture for free from people who are just moving out. And when you're moving out of your apartment, you have to leave everything as it was before. So if you got some furniture, you can't just leave it in the apartment, you have to get rid of it or move it to your new place. And because in Edinburgh students constantly coming and leaving, they often just like giving away furniture for free. And if you subscribe on a couple of groups like that, like student groups, sharing groups, you can just, pick everything without any money. The only problem is to organize delivery. If it's some bulky items like beds or wardrobes, you'll have to find a man with a van or friends with a car who will be happy to help you. In my case, I bought some furniture from former tenants of this apartment, and I could find it cheaper or even for free, but I just didn't want to bother with delivery, and I decided that I'll save my time and peace of mind with this. So yeah, furniture is not a problem. So just to summarize my experience, I applied for about 100 apartments. I got about like dozen of viewings. From these viewings, I applied for almost every apartment. I got positive response for 2 apartments at the end, and I could even choose which one suits me better. And the whole process took 2 weeks. It is very fast, as I understand now, but back then it was very stressful, and I had this time pressure, because I was living in the place of a friend of my friend, and I didn't feel very comfortable taking this space for such a long time, because initially I thought I will find an apartment like for 1 week, and it took 2 weeks just to find an apartment, and then 1 more month I was waiting for the apartment to be ready, because all tenants still were staying there for 1 more month. I'm really lucky that I met such a kind people who let me live in their apartment, and at the end we became like really good friends. But anyway, I wanted to get my place as soon as possible. And also another thing that was extremely stressful for me is the fact that these viewings you can only do in working hours, and when I came here I started to work almost immediately, and I had my full-time job and I had these viewings during work time. I was a bit worried because, you know, you just start a new job and you constantly go somewhere instead of working. So yeah, if you're coming to Edinburgh, you better plan it this way that you have some like free time to get the viewings before you're starting your work, because it's really stressful to do both things together. And when you finally get your application approved, the next step is to pay the deposit. And this is strange for me as a person from Eastern European country, that you're just sending this deposit to the bank account of your landlord without signing any pre-contract or whatever. You're just sending them and you hope for the best. Of course, I was kind of paranoid and I checked all the reviews for the agency I was working with. I made sure that it's existing like 10 years. It's not some company that opened yesterday and it's not some random scammers. So I kind of played it safe. And even then, when I sent my money and got just like, you know, email back with this receipt that doesn't sound anyhow, you know, legal and solid for me. So I still was worried, but it all ended well. And after your landlord gets your deposit, they should put it under the deposit protection scheme. This is a scheme when you store the deposit in some third-party company that doesn't let nor you or landlord access it before the end of the tenancy. And they have to pay you back this deposit if everything is good with the apartment after you move out. And if there are any issues and your landlord wants to take your deposit for like fixing some stuff that you broke or something, you can raise a dispute in this deposit scheme. You can like show the pictures to prove that some things were broken before you moved in, or that they're not right, and this third-party company will decide who is right and who is wrong. So it's kind of fair. That's why when you enter your apartment, it is strongly recommended that you take pictures of everything that is not right there, just to make sure that when you're moving out and when you start to fight for your deposit, if that's the case, you will be able to prove your like opinion. And another legal thing you have to be aware about is that in UK and in Scotland, every landlord has to be registered on a special landlord registry and has a number. So if you are signing a lease, just make sure that you have this landlord registration number in your lease, and if you don't, that's a red flag. You have to check about it with your agency or your landlord. And if they refuse to provide it, that means that something is wrong. Maybe they don't want to pay taxes, or I don't know, they're renting this apartment illegally, and you better don't sign lease on these conditions. So as a bonus for this video, I want to go through the websites I was using to rent my apartment. I will talk briefly about 4 of the most popular websites for renting. And the first one I was using was Rightmove. That's really nice website with very good user interface, and I really liked all the filtering features and the map that I could use just, you know, to see only apartments in certain neighborhood. It was really handy, but unfortunately this website is not very popular in Scotland. It's more of, you know, England oriented. And I didn't have much success with it, even if there are still plenty advertisements there for Edinburgh and Scotland. Second website I can recommend is OpenRent. This is supposed to be a place for private landlords to rent their apartments, but there are also agencies there. What I like about it is that you're contacting directly the landlord, and it seems to me that it's easier for me to communicate with them because they kind of care more than agencies. And I had few really nice viewings from this website. One of them was amazing maisonette in high market area that was managed by a family couple, and it was, you know, it was really big and atmospheric, and it still was quite pricey, but for this one, I mean, it was worth it. And I was ready to apply, but there was like 50 people who was viewing that in one day, and the competition was crazy. So I applied, but I didn't win this lottery, of course. Another viewing from this website, it was with agency, and it wasn't that good. It was again maisonette, but it was in a modern building. It even had an elevator or lift. The apartment itself was okayish, but when I applied, I got a response from agency and a message to my WhatsApp that they want me to offer them more money because there are so many people who want to rent it, so they are going to select like who pays more. And of course I just told them to fuck off, because I mean, that's too much. I'm not gonna bid for renting apartment. It's crazy. I mean, yes, the market is crazy, but not so much. That was about the open rent. Another website where I managed to get some viewings is Gumtree, and it was actually a good one. It is more like an eBay for selling and buying second-hand stuff, not only for apartments, but there is quite a big section for landlords who want to rent their apartments, and I managed to see one pretty good and cheap apartment, and I even got approved for it. But at the end I went for another one from Zoopla. Zoopla is the fourth website I was using. It's also an aggregator like Rightmove, but it is more popular in Scotland, and I think on Zoopla I found many advertisements that I couldn't find on Rightmove. And the apartment I rented I found there, and I applied through the website, through the aggregator, not through the agency website, because on the agency website it wasn't even obvious how to apply. And at the end I was choosing between the one from Gumtree and the one from Zoopla, and I went for the Zoopla one because it was a bit more central and schools were better in that neighborhood. But the one on Gumtree was cheaper, and the landlord, it was private one, he was really nice and really cared about the apartment. So that's my experience. I tried to cover everything in this renting process. And if you are interested in some other aspects of relocation to UK, please check my playlist about it. And I hope it was useful for you. And if you liked my video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you.